Sergeant Paul N. Kenjura, United States Army, Korea, the Forgotten War. Paul's one of my Texas veterans. I interviewed him January 6, 2010 in Brenham, Texas. And he fought in the Korean War. He was drafted in 1951. He served with the Heavy Weapons Company with the 2nd Infantry Division, which are the Indian Heads, and their motto is second to none. Paul saw a lot of action on the front lines, and he's still with us today at 94 years of age, folks, and just a tremendous story from Korea, the Forgotten War. He received the Combat Infantry Badge and was just really tells a great story. I'm really happy about sharing this with you today. I'd like to thank Brandon Glidden. Brandon, thank you again for sponsoring one of these Korean stories. You've been a great help to my work, and I want you to know that. And I'm happy to be able to share Paul's story, Brandon. Thank you. Hey, folks, if you'd like to sponsor a story, or if you don't want to sponsor a story, I'd like to encourage you to sponsor a story. It's a feel-good project, folks. There's information in the video description on my website, larrycapeto.com. Click on Sponsor a Vet. If you'd like to donate to my work, there's information in the comment section of this video. So I would really appreciate your help. This is a labor of love, folks. No monetizing, no commercials on this station, on this channel, and I'm just happy to share it with you uninterrupted. So, okay, folks, share these stories, subscribe to this channel. I've got a great announcement coming up this week, and I can't wait to share it with you. I think you're all going to enjoy it. So, God bless you. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. What year did you go into the military?
1950.
Did you join? Were you drafted?
No, drafted.
1951?
Yes, sir.
What did you know about Korea at that time? Did you know there was a war in Korea?
Yeah, sure did.
Tell me what you remember. I mean, how old were you then?
Ooh, let's see, it's 50.
You were a teenager?
50, yeah. I was probably around 19, 20 years old, something like that.
Why did you choose the Marine Corps?
No, I didn't choose the Marine, the Army. I was drafted.
Drafted into the Army.
I mean,
where did you go to basic training?
California, Camp Roberts.
Mm-hmm. What were you trained to do? What was your job?
Heavy weapons.
Heavy weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And after your basic training, did you know you were going to go to Korea?
Yeah, they told me.
Were you afraid?
No.
Did you feel like you wanted to serve your country?
Oh, yeah. I had 3 brothers served World War II, so I was ready.
Had you ever been away from home before?
No.
Is this the first time?
First time.
So tell me about when you got to Korea. What did you experience when you first went in country?
Oh, I first got there, landed at Tokyo, and going off the ship, the Japs were all around the ship, and we're throwing them candy and cigarettes, you know, and the men were whipping the little kids over to the side and getting them cigarettes, and they told us that we got off the ship, and they said that we'd probably be there a couple of days, and we went down, got to the replacement center, and the guy briefed us, and he said, "You'll probably be on your way. Some of you will be on your way to Korea before the day is over with." Well, we just thought it was a joke, but they were short of men. So anyway, we were off there about 2 hours, and they called us out and loaded us up on the ship again, and did it on to Korea. And we landed in Incheon, and got on one of them LSTs, landing barges or whatever you call them, and got on the train and started that night, headed for the front lines and for the replacement center, not the front lines, but anyway, and it was snowing, and we lived in boxcars. They had them, what they haul you, like cattle hauled in. So we made it a fire. We tore the seats out and boards, and we controlled it with snow, so it wouldn't burn the train up. So we got there next morning by daylight, and little kids were barefooted and noses running, and they wanted some food. They were real poor people. Wanted to see what we had to give them, and we give them everything we had. And we went to the replacement center then that day, and got all our changed our equipment out. They sent us down there. We had all them World War II heavy army coats, and then we had them old boots, shoes, So they give us some sizes, about 3 sizes too big. We had paddings in the shoes, and then we had about 3 pair of socks on, and that a lot of people, toes, they got gangrene, the toes froze off, and we went ahead and changed our equipment over. Had our old M1s, and we got some carbines and all this and that. That's where they assigned us to what company we're going to, and so the next few days we're going up to the front lines, and anyway, you could hear it, shells and all that, but it was just like a dream. And that was on our way to the front lines. And then I went ahead and a couple of days later, a day or so later, we was up to the front, and we had to go up on a hill to replace another company, second division, and run into them all day, choking up the mountain. We had our 75s and 50 caliber machine guns, all that stuff, and we had the Koreans help carry some ammunition up there, and it was about dark, and I run up to my place, and the place I went to, replacement, I was a machine gun and all that set up, 75, and I run into my buddy from Brunham, and he was so glad with this, and I was scared too, but he spent the night with me. The next morning he went ahead and called his company commander and asked them, that night, could he spend the night with me? He said, yeah. So the next morning before daylight, he snuck out and took off, and then, so I don't know how many months I spent right over there up on the front lines. From there, after so many months, it rotated us, and so they had very little food. We didn't get much food. We had sea rations, and it was cold. It got down to 38 below at one time, and so.
Well, you're a young man, and
yes,
you're in combat for the first time.
Yes.
Were you afraid?
I guess I was. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I was. But I wasn't by myself. We were all together.
Were you fighting the Chinese or the North Koreans?
North Koreans. Mm-hmm. Yeah, North Koreans. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me about your enemy. Could you see them? How close did you get to them?
Well, pretty close. We up on the front line, and the mortars were coming around and in all the time. We all had to watch and this and that, and then so anyway, I did something one time I was not proud of. I had that 50 caliber machine gun, and every morning I had the binoculars, and when they would come out and use the bathroom, and they kept throwing that, and so I said, I believe I'm gonna get this booger. So I set my machine gun, my 50 caliber, right on, zeroed it in during the day when he wasn't around. And that morning when he got up, I was ready for him, and I let him have it. And it bothered me for about 50 years. Yeah. See, I didn't tell nobody, but then I told my wife, because I was dreaming about it all the time. And after I did that, I felt sorry for him because I said he might have a family like we do back home, you know. But then I said, no, they're just different people. So I told her I quit dreaming about it. And then I get along a lot better ever since then.
So you had a 50 caliber, is that what you used?
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's what I used it on him. Every fifth one was a tracer, you know. Mm-hmm. And
so
that was
were you in Pork Chop Hill or Heartbreak Ridge?
I was on Old Baldy.
Tell me about Old Baldy.
Well, I believe they said after it's all over with, I had a clipper and I was going to bring a new piece of paper that come get it about once a month, and they said they had fired 240,000 rounds on us within 70-something hours. Mm-hmm. But I got hit on the bunker and rocks fell in on this and that, and then we had a boy from Puerto Rico. And he'd playing a French harp, and rounds were coming in, and we said, cut that damn thing off, because, you know, and he said, I don't want to hear the round that's going to hit me. He playing a French harp, doing all that. So we got him to stop, and so anyway, it just like lightning striking, it hit the bunkers, you know, rocks fall on you, but I never did get hit, but got hit with nothing but dirt, you know. And then a little later on, we was over there, and I had a colored boy named Kenzie with me, and he wouldn't eat. He was a big old boy, and he wouldn't eat at all. I'd bring him food, go down when I could, go down the hill, and you know, because mines were set up and booby traps, and so when I go ahead and I'd bring him food. Otherwise, he was turning color on me, and he was just drying up. He was too scared to go out, you know, to get food. And so I took care of him best I could. And anyway, I believe I weighed 195 pounds when I took my basic to California. And when I got home after being on the ship for about a month, 3 weeks, and I got back and I weighed about 140 pounds then, because I ate nothing but sea rations. And once in a while we'd get a meal. Probably got 1 or 2 baths all the time I was down there. We'd bathe in the river when it was warm and washed our clothes in there.
Well, how many months were you on the front lines?
I spent, the whole time up there, I spent 11 months, 6 days, 7 hours and 42 minutes on overseas. So the time I hit the ship and got back. When I walked on that ship, my brother was, you know, World War II veteran, and he knew how long, what he got left there when he got back, 3 years and something. So I was hitting that, walking up there, and I thought about him. I said, I'm going to see how long I'm going to stay overseas. So checked my time, and then when I got back, you know, a lot of people had kinfolks and husbands, wives, you know, wives, mothers, fathers could meet them. But I was looking for somebody, but I didn't see him. See nobody from home.
Well, Paul, tell me about some of the combat you got in. You mentioned Old Baldy. Now, tell me about the combat there and the enemy. Did you lose some of your friends and all?
Oh yeah, missing. I had Cali was one, and a few others. But you know, we missed. Never know what happened until we came home. They just came back. Then had another old boy. He was, when I got there, he done been wounded twice, and he volunteered to go back. And when I was coming home, he got hit, got wounded again, went to Japan. That's where they take him most of the time. And when I get coming home, I met him at a replacement center. And I said, what you doing here? The first thing he asked me, how many of the old men are left, you know, with the old men, have you been in combat there for a while? Well, you know, but he said, man, my mother would know I'm coming back, I'm here, she'd die. He was wounded 3 times already, and he went back again. And he just loved it. He'd go on patrol, but volunteer at night, and so.
Tell me about some of the combat. What's combat like? Is it small arms fire, artillery? Tell me what's going on.
Artillery, well, we didn't get much artillery. Mortar fire was the biggest thing, we had. A lot of mortar fire, mortars come in. And artillery and going out, and you could hear them old whistles going over the mountain, and you stay up on that hill there, and you'd see them jets come in. About 4 every evening would come and drop their rounds, and then they'd go back to Tokyo, and you said lucky fellows in one way, but every once in a while you look back, but 3 coming back out of the forward, always you're going forwards, they drop their rounds. And
Paul, tell me about some of the combat, any of the casualties that you guys sustained. Did you get to help some of the wounded? Were you there when they were hurt or killed?
Yeah, I was at the replacement center when I was the last time and fixing to come home, and we were waiting to go back home, and sitting in a tent, and they were bringing in the dead and laying them there by the tents and all that, covered up, and we wouldn't look at them, but anyway, they were dead, and lay them outside, but we were ready to go home, and I don't know what you call it, outpost, that's where, and then they come to me and wanted me to volunteer to go out to that outpost, and I said, oh no, I'm going home. I'm not going out tonight. I'm staying right here, and I'm going home in the morning. And so they let me go in the morning. But
I mean, how do you get through those hard times? What was the hardest thing you had to do during your time overseas? What was the worst fight? You mentioned Old Baldy now. Was that a battle?
Oh yeah, that's where they attacked us and dropped them mortar rounds and on us and trying to get that. That was and that's a whole lot of boys. Some of my friends got hit, Baldonado from California, and this and that through them. But after we got wounded, they went all the way back to, went to Tokyo, and then they came back, and then they went home. But
tell me about combat. I mean, how close did you get to the enemy? Did you get pretty close or not?
No, not that close. Not real close to them. We was always in the bunker, or they was out there in the dark, and they'd shoot at you. Either mortar rounds would be coming in, and that they was out there, and you could hear them, but always nighttime you couldn't see them.
Would they attack you, or would you attack them?
Well, they were attacking us then. We just firing the machine, keeping them from coming on closer to us, get close enough to throw any hand grenades at us or nothing. We kept our guns on them.
When it was really cold, how did you survive the cold?
Well, it's in a bunker down underground, one little kennel. That's all we had. And they had sleeping bags, which they were, that. And then when you stand guard at night outside, you keep working your toes, and then when you took your old boots off, your socks and it would be in that padding would have ice in them. We'd always just work your toes all night long, so so you wouldn't freeze up. And then you had a shawl or something over your face, or piece of cloth, and that would be like concrete here. You could hit it with it. The steam from your nose would freeze that cloth in front of you, and you get that tap, and it would just be popping, like this, just like a.
What about eating? Was your food frozen?
Oh, no, we had sea rations. Very seldom had, and yet try to warm it up. They stir a little cans of the sterno or whatever they call it, and warm it up enough. But it was always cold. Corned beef hash most of the time, and some kind of a cake, and that's why I believe I lost all my weight, because it doesn't eat. But I don't know, it didn't bother me not going hungry, because I guess you're nervous and all this and that.
Did you ever lose any close friends, like wounded or killed?
I got wounded, yeah.
Did you get to help them? Were you there?
No, they were often it was my company, but there's off to the other side. There was some of them with mortars and some with small machine guns and rounds come in, all like that. But really close by, nobody got killed right beside of me. No one got, I seen them, but I didn't. No one got killed real close to me. Yeah.
What was the? Were you ever wounded?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Well, you were in South Korea during all this time, or during the fight?
On the 38 parallel, right up there, the Kumwa Valley, and moved up there, and that's where I was.
But you never fought the Chinese?
No.
Just the North Koreans?
Just Koreans. Yeah, the old General, what's his name, MacArthur wanted to go and whip the Chinese, and he got fired, but he's ready to go. And they said that he could go, he could just really go a long way and then just too far away from to fight the Chinese. So it was all, it could have been some Chinamen there, but I never did see them.
So you mentioned it was 50 years after you could talk about shooting that one guy.
Yeah.
Have the memories of the war bothered you all these years?
Oh, I had a nervous stomach. I've been, I could have went to the doctor back when I came back home. He wanted to put me on disability, but I was just too proud. I was going to be all right. And now that I needed to help because I had a stroke, they won't help me because I got my own home and got my own place. So they won't help me with medicine now, and I really could use it now,
Well, when you first came back from the war, did you talk about it?
No.
Did you want to talk about it?
No.
How did you come back home and get back into life? Wasn't that hard?
Yeah, it was. Yep, it sure was.
Were you diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder?
No, nothing. And then never been to a doctor. There's no Army doctors, just a local doctor here.
What was some of the worst things that you saw in Korea? What comes to mind when I ask you that question? What was some of the worst things you saw?
Well, I don't know. Some things were pretty bad, but I can't think of nothing. It's the worst things I ever saw.
I mean, did you mention the dead bodies?
Yeah, the dead bodies that that was covered up and brought in and stuff like that. But that was about the worst thing.
How did you get through the hard times? Was it your training? Was it your faith in God? How did you get through it?
I guess it was my training and my faith in God. I knew my grandmother and my mother did a lot of praying for me. But most of all, that was it, mother and grandmother. And I guess my wife too, but I haven't been married long enough to, but I know they always said that, they prayed for me. Yeah.
Well, you're from Texas, you're in Korea fighting somewhere where you don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, was that tough when you were homesick to come home? Or, I mean, how did you feel about all that?
Well, I guess I was, but I knew I had a job to do, so I just going to go ahead and do it. Come Christmas, I know they had set out like they did in World War II, Tokyo Rose. Well, they did the same thing to us at Christmas. Set out speakers and played American music, and they'd go ahead and say that, you guys back home, you over here fighting this and that, and he said, your girlfriends and your wives, all of them back home, dancing, having a good time. They'd say, you want to go home, we'll send you home, just like same thing like old Tokyo Rose did World War II. Mm-hmm. And my brothers told me about that, and that sure was. And I had a friend from North Carolina in my bunker that she said, hey, you behind the machine gun, lay down your weapons. You're in constant danger. So-and-so about your girlfriend's wives. You come home, you want to go home, come here and we'll send you home. my old buddy from North Carolina, he said, let's get up and go. He said, they see us. They see us. I said, sit down here. I said, Langy, don't, just hold up and be tight. Everything will be all right. But that's what they, same old thing, use that propaganda on us. And that's the way it went. And then when I got home, it was around Christmas, and got a furlough, and going back to Fort Sam, down in San Antonio, and me and my buddy from Brenham, Tuckhorn, we were so tired and wore out, and we stopped in a little old country store outside Luling. I still remember what it looked like, and had a gas pump there, and they were playing cards or dominoes inside there, and I went in, and my buddy stayed, he was sleeping, and he said to get him some coffee and try to make it back to San Antonio. So I went ahead and asked the lady for a cup of coffee, and she said, didn't wait on, no, I couldn't get a cup of coffee. I said, just a little one to go, ma'am. She said, no, we don't wait on dogs or soldiers. I said, man, I begged her. I really did. I was tired and just couldn't go no more. And I said, lady, please, we need just a little coffee and so on. So she finally poured a little cup, about a siphon cup about that big, and she gave her coffee, and whatever change I had, $1 or $2, I just throw it down and walked on. Got back to the car, and I told my buddy about it. He said, well, go back and burn the son of bitches out, down the building down. I said, so I stopped by and looked at it. I drove by there several times, but I never stopped anymore.
Why did she act like that?
She just didn't want no soldiers, want to wait on no soldiers or dogs, she said.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that was just, I don't know why, but I guess a lot of soldiers stopped by and drank and something, and she just might have had trouble with some of them. But that hurt.
Well, of course it did. Serving your country. I mean, are you proud that you're a Korea veteran?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have people thanked you for your service?
Oh, yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Really feel fine. They thanked me. A lot of them did.
Paul,
they still do.
Paul, why do they refer to Korea as the Forgotten War?
I sure don't know. I just, they call it the Forgotten War, and I didn't know they called it that Forgotten War for a long time till my son-in-law was a Marine, and he told me about to call it the Forgotten War, and then I checked into it and sure did, They called it police action, but, many 1,000 guys died.
How come people don't know much? When you were fighting in Korea and you came home, did people know you had been at war?
Yeah, a lot of them did. Just, the older people. But I think our young people don't know what war is. Schools today, they don't teach them anything, I don't believe. The way it looked to me. Because I have my nephew tell me about his grandchildren that they don't know nothing about it, and say, wish you could see your medals and talk to you about it.
Why do you think it's important that our kids do learn about the war?
Well, this is our country, the freedom. We need to, and they need to know about it, to appreciate what the guys are doing for us. Just like today, the vets over there, and they don't appreciate them. Just something about it. Just they should know about it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned freedom. Paul, tell me what freedom means to you.
Well, it's just like my kids or anybody else. You do what you want to. Go to church and go anywhere you want to do and do. That means a lot. You don't have to be told you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, you do whatever you want to do.
How do people die in the war. People die, they're wounded. How do you think we would tell a young person about freedom? How would you tell a young person about the price for freedom?
Oh, Lord, I don't know how you would. I guess it's hard for them to understand. And I'd say they should, their parents should teach them, I think, at home, should tell them what goes on in this world, what's being free and not being free.
Tell me what the American flag means and represents to you as a veteran.
Oh man, I have a lot of respect for it. I still fly one in my yard. I fly one every day. They got one up there. Been doing it all my life. I mean, ever since I got out of the Army, I put me up a flagpole and it flies in my yard every day. Been doing it 58 years, 59. Yeah, respect it. The home of the American flag.
Have you ever been back to the Korea War Memorial in Washington?
No. I thought about going, but had this stroke and my wife had knee surgery, and we just don't get around like we could. We'd love to go.
What else can you tell me about combat? Are there any combat stories you can tell me? You've told me a few things. Is there a particular story you can tell me about your combat experiences, about maybe where you were, what you were doing, and you were firing a machine gun? Is that right?
Yeah.
Who were you shooting? What were your targets? Just people, or?
Yeah. Back, yeah. You own this mountain or own the fingers leading off of the mountains, and you cover that certain territory, that no man's land, and that's where you fire at. They shooting at you, or you see something, or somebody hears something, you go ahead and open up. They fire at you, so you just fire back at them.
Did Clarence ask you to talk, or did you want to talk today? How
No.
did this come about?
Well, I kind of wanted to talk. I had this stroke, so I didn't want to. And the way I thought about it, couldn't do a good job, but I did. Just like let know my grandchildren and people know about it. What all the sacrifice people make, going without just very little food and just had it was hard. That's all.
Does the cold bother you today? The cold weather?
Well, it do now, because I take medicine, take a lot of medicine. But otherwise, the cold weather, I loved it. I love the cold weather.
Did you ever get frostbite in Korea?
No. But come close, like I said, just ice in my soles of my shoes. Then they come out with that new boot, new combat boot with one pair of socks, and they had air pockets in it. And man, that was a lifesaver. That was everything. And then they had better clothes too, got to throw them old heavy woolen coats away and give us parkas and insulated clothes and clothes like that. That helped a whole lot. They wore them.
Do these memories seem like yesterday, or do they seem like a long time ago?
It seemed like a long, pretty well. I remember it just like it happened, Yesterday would always be there whenever you try to tune it out and get your mind on something else. It hurts sometimes.
Tell me what you mean by it hurts.
Well, it just come back and you feel like you want to cry for something. I don't know what it is, but it's a feeling you just can't get over it. When you talk about it, you'd rather not talk about it.
Or is it the memories of maybe the casualties? Or
Oh, it's everything. It's just hard times and seeing the kids. When we were on the move, in the morning you wake up, you spend the night, would be 200 or 300 people, kids and family waiting and digging up your garbage. I had pictures of digging up the garbage, and we bury it in an army. You bury everything. They're just staying there after we drive off. They just like a bunch of dogs would run up there and and dig it out by hand. Eat anything we had scraps left over, and we give them everything we had that we could. We just share with them too. We had share with them what we had, any food we got. If you could give it to some of the kids, or you would. The growing up would fight the kids too, though. They were poor people.
Do you think the military made you a better person?
Oh, I guess so, in a way. Yeah, I always, never did anything wrong about anything, nothing bad. About the worst thing I ever did in my life, I guess, driving maybe a little fast. But before that, we was raised, I come from a big family, 10 of us, and we all raised out on the farm, brought up. We didn't start school till we was about 8 years old. That's the first time I've been to town. And it was just a big family, farming.
And you went, and one day you found yourself fighting for your country in Korea.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's amazing.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yep. Proud of it too. Yep. So proud of it.
When you're in combat, are you mainly just focused on what you're doing, or do you think about things like you're fighting for your country, or is it survival, or what is it?
I guess more or less survival. Make sure, you don't step on no mines or booby traps or hit a wire or rounds come in anytime. You don't never know when you're up on the front line. Anything could happen at any time. You're always in danger. You could get attacked at night, and we'd have a wire out there and tin cans or anything. You hear a little noise, just somebody slipping up on you. Open up fire on them. Just don't want them to get close to you. Just survival, I guess. There's a lot of things you do.
Did you ever think you wouldn't come home?
No, I didn't. I always said I'm coming home. When I got under the Golden Gate Bridge the night we left, somebody hollered at me. I always leave at night after dark, and the bridge was lit up. The guy said, "Hey, you want to go outside and look at the Golden Gate Bridge?" I said, "No, I'm staying down here. I'll see it when I get back." And that's what I did. So we came home at daytime though when it landed, but I just said I'll see it when I get back.
You mentioned having dreams or nightmares. Was it many years after the war that happened?
Yeah, that happened all the time for about 40 or 50 years. And then I told my wife about it one day, and then the dreams, I quit dreaming. But I guess I had to tell somebody, and I told her. That was it. That helped me out. Got over it.
Do you think you killed a lot of people with that machine gun, or just that one person? Was that it?
Well, I know for sure about that one, But yeah, I imagine a whole lot of them. There's 75 recoilless rifles. When that shells go, when they explode, that's just like a tank gun. They're big, and you don't know how many you're just firing, and they firing at you, and that's the way it is.
How would you define combat? How would you define it? What would you say about combat?
Well, I don't know. It's something you just have to do, I guess. You just, dog eat dog. You try to save yourself from somebody capturing you. I never wanted to get captured because they trained us. They'd probably send you up to Manchuria or somewhere you never come back, And the prisoners of war or something else too. I didn't want to get captured because I seen what happened to guys around this town. I've seen on the movies too how poor they were, starved them, how bad they got treated.
That would have been terrible.
Yes, it is.
So when Clarence asked you to talk today, were you okay with that?
Yeah. In a way, and then in a way I didn't want to. I guess I'd rather stay at home, But
well, I think it's important that our young people learn about war.
Yeah, it is. Everyone should know. Everyone should know. And I think, well, right now, it's a different war, but I think everybody should have just a little military training, get to know. Yeah, a lot of these young people need to know what it's about. They think it's a joke or something like they see in the movies, but you got to go through it to make a man out of you. But that's what you did. You did something for your country.
What do you think our country should remember about the Korean War?
Well, I guess many a guy got killed in that thing. I don't know. I don't think they even mentioned it. The war now, and every day 1, 2 get killed or whenever. More of them get killed in Houston every day than over there. But they bring it up every day, 3 or 5, or keep coming to 1,000 and 2,000, and we were there. Hell, a bunch got killed. Nobody said anything about it. Nobody said a word about getting killed. The only time they know they got killed would be some of your family or kinfolks back home that know either somebody from your town. But otherwise, nobody ever know about it. Now today, every day, 2 did this and 2 did that, and 3 got killed here and blowed up. And, yeah.
You said you expected to come home, but tell me about fear. Is there fear in combat?
Well, yeah, it's a certain fear, but I don't know. It's just something about it. You got a job to do, and let's do it. We got to get through. You got to be here so long, so many months, and just do your best and try to stay alive. Watch where you walk, and that booby traps set there, wires, and you step on them and all this and that. And you always stay on the trails, and all your training, you just think about it every day. Every day, your training you had doing basic training, what they told you and what to expect. And if you do that, you got a good chance of coming back all in one piece.
Did you say when you were in basic training you knew you were going to go to Korea?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I know. When I went to the officer and asked permission about getting married, because they said you got to go ask the colonel, tell him about you getting married. So when I went to ask the colonel, tell him about getting married, and he told me, he said, I got papers out here. Your daddy can get you out the hardship discharge to go home. He said, and if you get married, then they probably draft you again. So he said, then you're still going to have to go into the Army. So I said, no, I'll just take. He said, you know where you're going? You're going straight to Korea. I said, yeah, I believe it. I know probably where I'll end up. That's what I'm training for. And so I went ahead and I said, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to the Army. I'll go. I'm ready to go. Mm-hmm. And that's why I made up my mind then, and I did.
What does Veterans Day mean to you?
Oh, it means a whole lot. To me, Veterans Day, respect the veterans, I really do. Mm-hmm. Proud to be a vet. You sure do. Here I am.
And you told me you're proud that you served your country.
Yes. Yes, I'd do it again if I had to. Yep.
That's good. That's good. You think you told me everything today you wanted to or thinking about, or was there something?
Yeah, I told you about the way I got treated, about wanting a cup of coffee, I didn't think that would happen, to me when I got home. That they turned me down and for a cup of coffee. And that hurt my feelings. Yeah. But I begged the lady for a drink. Cause I needed something to get to camp. So back to camp that night. And I was tired and wore out, weak. half sick.
You never got into hand-to-hand combat, did you?
No hand-to-hand combat, no. It was always a big 50 caliber machine gun, 30 caliber.
Were you supporting the troops, or were you behind? You were on the front lines, you said.
Yeah.
And they were coming at you.
Yeah, we're supporting the troops, the ones was out there. Yeah, sure were. Heavy weapons. 75.
They're coming at you, and are they falling down as you're shooting them?
No, I didn't see them. That didn't get well. I could see them. Attack at night, and we did a lot of shot a many rounds out there.
So Old Baldy was an actual mountain, or what?
Yeah, it was like a big old hill. I don't know what they. They had a bigger one in front there on the. With 1062 with snow on top of it, you could see that too. But old Baldy was a pretty good sized mountain. It was all at one time was all trees, but when the war when I left there, it was nothing but just stumps and nothing. They cleared it all. They first of all, I think a lot of times they went ahead and they would. Put out DDT for mosquitoes or insects, to kill all the foliage on there, and then it burnt off the fire, and it was just like plowed land. That's what it looked like, with no greens on it at all. It just shot all up. And napalm, they dropped napalm bombs. The jets did, just burned things up.
You didn't fight at Pork Chop Hill or Heartbreak Ridge, did you?
No. No, I was around there, been by it, but I wasn't in that battle. It was the only one with Old Baldy. But I remember all about Pork Chop and Heartbreak and all that too. I know all about it.
What do you know about it?
I just, what I knew the fire and how many got killed there, and it was bad. Yeah.
Did you ever watch the TV show MASH?
Yeah.
That wasn't really like Korea, was it?
No, it was a fun thing, really. But I watched it a little bit, but not too much because it was too much fake stuff in it. It wasn't the real. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, I want to thank you for serving our country.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. And I know why I'm free today. You guys went to war.
Yeah.
You fought.
Right.
Our young people don't understand.
They did. Our own young people don't know about it. That's right.
Maybe they'll learn, huh?
I hope so.
Yeah.
One day. I hope it's not too late.
One last question. What do you want your family and even your friends to remember about you someday when you're gone?
Oh, I served my country. I'm proud to do it. Glad I could do it so my kids wouldn't have to go. I had 2 boys, and I didn't want them to go. And so that's why I really wanted the kids, grandkids. That's what it's for.
Well, you did good.